Welcome to the ED Academy. Welcome to this e-learning module with which we want to support you in reinforcing your technological vision, your idea for a new future and emerging technology. You are working with a spark, a technological spark, and you want to make it grow. And maybe you are thinking on converting it into a proposal to be submitted to the Horizon 2020, the European Framework for Research, Development and Innovation, within the PHET program, the Future and Emerging Technologies program, which has two variations. The PHET Open, which is looking into very preliminary sparks that you want to validate, to consolidate, and to prepare for growth, or PHET Proactive, which is a spark, a technological spark, which somehow has been already pre-validated at least, and that you want to start growing in its very early stages. Whatever context, whether you are going for a PHET Proactive, PHET Open, or are just thinking on your PHET project, this module will try to help you reinforcing your project concept. So we are going to be working into your project. This is your project. It's a spark, it's a baby that you want to grow to a certain level, depending on your context. For any level of growth, the first thing that you want to do is to raise in your head three basic questions. Why, how, and what? They are very easy to formulate questions, but it's also very easy that we trick ourselves in properly answering them. And we are going to demonstrate this using a case study. But before the case study, let's look into the basic elements any project idea needs to have to be considered an integral idea, an integral baseline on top of which build the whole project. We will see that along the webinar. So which are these basic elements? First, the challenge, the open challenge. A project must be born from a need or gap that is necessary to cover, and projects must convince that it is possible and necessary to find a solution to that need, fill in that gap, or take that opportunity. There must be a why. Why are you doing this? Why are you devoting your R&D efforts in the coming years to this? Why should I accompany you as a colleague, as a partner, as a founder, as a future end user? Why? The vision is the specific approach we propose to overcome this challenge. It must really address the challenge. We will see this is not trivial. And although it will be very, very risky because this is future and emerging technologies, it will be surrounded by a feasible plan. It is the how. And this how will be materialized into a technology, something concrete, something to be delivered at the end of the project that can be taken forwards. And it must be measurable against the challenge. It is the what. And this way, by measuring the what against the challenge, we close the circle around our project idea. And we make a round idea. But still, we are missing two extra elements. First is the identification of the technological barriers ahead. Why this vision and this technology has not been developed yet? What are the main risks and the main gaps and challenges to overcome to make our vision come true? Where are the areas, the technical areas, the scientific and technical areas where we will focus our research and development efforts during the project, which will be high, will be strong barriers, implying high risks. If there is no risk, it is not R&D, and if there is no high risk, it is certainly no future and emerging technology. But we need to identify the barriers so that we can break the general level of risk into specific risks for which we can define different strategies to mitigate, contingency plans, or to address these risks. Additionally, there will be barriers related to the future scale-up or exploitation of results. How will we take the vision beyond in the medium to long term? And which are the most relevant aspects to achieve it? The market, the society, the final use of our technology or application can look very far away, but we need to draw ourselves a long-term or medium to long-term horizon, which can be longer or closer, which will be very blurred, still very blurred, very diffuse, which can be very wide, not just one application, but that will assure that our project advances in a direction and we don't risk going in circles. So we set ourselves a horizon, a purpose, and we try to identify very early stage barriers or barriers that will impact the project at very early stage so we can start considering these issues towards the future. So let's start analyzing each of these elements one by one. And let's do it with a case study. Imagine you are cavemen. Not only you are cavemen, but you are visionary cavemen within the clan, and you are thinking of one of the first future and emerging technologies in humanity. You are thinking about living in huts. Leave the cavern and live in huts. You want to build your project concept and get ready to present it in front to your clanmates in the next spring assembly around the fire. So they follow you outside the cave. The first question will be why? Why live in the cave to live in huts? When we use this case study in seminars, and therefore we give people very little time to think of the answer, we can easily see how we trick ourselves in answering this question. Really answering this question for our projects will take time. It's not something that just pops out your mind like in a minute, okay? You really have to think about it, and normally it will imply a certain level of study and analysis. If we don't leave time to think and we just say whatever that comes to our mind in a minute, we normally get the following answers. The need is for security. If you were a caveman, would you feel safer in a hut than in a cave? Do you think your clanmates will address the enormous fear of the tremendous change that it was to leave the caves and think of living in huts because they will feel safer? Probably not. Probably not, because probably the hut is not initially safer or per se safer than the cave. It is not true that this is the need. We also get the answer salubrity, healthy. But the hut is very cold, dark, small, and accumulates even more smoke than the cave itself. We also get the answer comfortability. But the hut is very cold, dark, small, and accumulates even more smoke than the cave itself. We sometimes also get the answer privacy, having privacy. But the caveman is not ready for that. They don't understand the concept. Probably not even you as a caveman, if you were a caveman, understood this concept. And it is not a challenge that exists today. Sometimes we also get the answer lack of space. We are running out of space in the cave. But then we are raising many why nots. There are many other potential approaches to address this challenge. Why not taking a space from the area around the cave? It sounds safer. It sounds healthier. It could even sound more comfortable. And for sure, it sounds less risky. So the challenge, you have to make sure that the challenge is real. the bigger the change you want to promote, the more pressing the why will need to be. And in future and emerging technology, we are going for big change. And search for specificity because it is a very useful weapon to prevent why nots. So we prefer to explain the challenge, the need for cavemen to live in huts as living constantly closer to food and water. This is real for cavemen. This is really important. This is a must to have for cavemen. It is specific, so it will prevent the why nots. And it is something worth it. It is really worth for humanity living in cavemen to address the challenge of living constantly closer to food and water. And from here we have to move to the how, the vision, how the approach we suggest, we propose to address this challenge. In the case of the cavemen thinking of living in huts, we would explain it by saying that we need to become able to build our own caves so we can choose where to live. The vision is the concept behind your project. We are not yet talking about technology and a specific technology. We are drawing a vision. It is your great, smart, and unique idea. It has to be unique. It is related to the state of the art. It really needs to allow for a great leap towards beyond the state of the art. It is a technological vision, becoming able to build our own caves. It's a technological vision which we try to accompany with some level of dreaming so we can choose where to live. The sounder your technological vision is, the more ambitious it is, although seeming feasible. And the possibility to include some dreamingful component to your vision, the more powerful your vision will be in driving yourself, in driving colleagues, in driving collaborators, in driving everybody else. And you have to make sure that it really covers the challenge, it really covers the need. Do not forget, trees don't grow with no grounds. The basis for a project, and therefore a proposal, is always the idea. We need to build it well. We need to build it completely with all the elements. And we also need to prevent leaps in the dark. When do leaps in the dark? When we are giving a challenge, we are proposing a vision and a technology to address it, but there could be many other possible technological visions or technology or solutions to address this challenge. We need to prevent this. We need to fill in the gap by zooming into the challenge, identifying something more specific so that our proposed vision and technology is the only possible solution or obviously the best possible solution. But there is more. The size of the challenge still needs to be attractive for the desired investment. And the vision and the technology proposed must really mean a disruptive advance beyond the state of the art, which can be measured, for which we need to define a specific, relevant, and measurable level of technological development. We need to explain at the level of the technology how far are we going to advance with our project. Is it going to be a proof of concept? Is it going to be a lab prototype? Is it going to be tested in some near real environmental or application conditions? This has to be aligned with, in case we are thinking on a failed proposal, with the context of the call. But it is important that we explain it clearly. How far are we going to go and how this advance can be measured. Search for specificity while searching for must to have. We already mentioned that. Get really well differentiated. Always keep an eye on preventing the why nots. And make the challenge and the vision really fit together. It's not that we need to work on the challenge as a component and the vision as a component and the technology as a component. We have to make sure that they really match. This is what we need. Not just each of the persons, but the whole thing. As I said, this is not that easy. Sometimes we need to work around our initial ideas, to refine them, to tune them up, and to make them match. Within this platform, we try to help you doing that, starting by focusing on the open challenge. Sometimes you define it at a higher level, and you need to go down to get more specific, to zoom into some parts of your open challenge so that you create this bridge, this slide that smoothly lands on your radical vision. What else? You also need to describe the technology to be developed and up to which level you are going to develop it during the project, the technological barriers, but also exploitation-oriented barriers. And sometimes you might start from a scientific evidence or a technological embryo. If you are thinking on a PHET open, which is a very preliminary spark, it normally comes from some scientific evidence, which and your vision consists on how to materialize this science into a technology. If you are in a PHET proactive, where the spark is already there and it has been validated, but we need to start scaling it up in the very preliminary stages, then we are starting from a technological embryo. We need to take into consideration this while building the different elements of our project concept. And also we can think of the future scenario that we want to create, this horizon that we want to move towards, and having it together with our project concept helps us making sure that the way we are building the different components and their interrelationships are really prepared for moving ourselves towards this future scenario. Barriers are the reasons why our vision does not exist yet. For PHET projects, for sure they are scientific and technological. In PHET Proactive, we also start addressing barriers related to scaling up the spark and maturing the technology. And in any case, try to advance early stage barriers towards society, industry, or markets. They represent what is pending doing, what is to overcome, and therefore determine the objectives of our project. And once we have a clear objective, we can define the activities to carry out so that the vision and the technology become true, fulfilling the identified challenge, and at the same time, creating additional impact. We have a new word here, which is impact. Challenge and impact are different things, and we will see it in a minute. So, if we have a challenge, living constantly closer to food and water, we have developed a vision, or build up a vision, becoming able to build our own caves so that we can choose where to live. This will be converted into a technology, which is a hat. We identify one barrier. There will be many barriers. One of them would be to guarantee supply of adequate raw materials for building. Once we have identified the barrier, we can set a project objective, developing a design that allows flexibility of raw materials to use so that we can adjust to what we have near in different locations. Otherwise, the vision will not be fulfilled. The barrier and the objective are different things. The barrier is what we need to overcome. The objective sets how and with what results we want to do that. And we have to make sure that we do it so that the vision is still becoming true. Because if I say, then let's build huts always with a stone, then the vision to become able to choose where to live will not come true anymore, because instead of being limited to living in caverns, we will be limited to just those locations where a stone is available enough to build huts for the whole clan. So in order to keep that vision coming true, we need to define an objective that will go in that direction. And once we have the objective clear, we can define the activities, designing the different components of the technology, the pillars, the walls, the roof, etc. Trial with different materials at the level of each component to determine which can be flexible in the materials to use, and which should be always built with a certain material that will need to always be available. Maybe, for example, the pillars need to be built with wood always, or stone, or there are only 2 or 3 materials that we can use for the pillars, while the walls are much more flexible. We could use mud, we could use leaves, we could use wood, stone, or many other alternatives. And then we build and test prototypes. Now, if it happens that the shaman of our clan says that the stone is forbidden, this is a contextual aspect that will affect how we plan to overcome the barrier. Context is something that we also need to take into account. It's not just about the challenge, our vision, our technology. It is about the context around us. We need to study it and take into consideration while building our project concept. How we manage these contextual issues for defining our project objectives, activities, and plan and concept will depend on our own strengths and weaknesses, on who we are. If it happens that we are Obelix and our main strength is that we are capable of carrying around huge pieces of rock, we will need to use that and define a new we cannot renounce to use a stone, because it's our strength. It will not make any sense. So we need to define an additional barrier related to convincing the shaman that the stone is sacred. Otherwise, we might consider that the stone is not an option. So once we have built all these elements, we are really ready to speak to our clanmates during the spring assembly, and we can present them our idea and our project concept. So, my friends, women spend today 15 days per month hunting, while before 3 days was enough. Women spend 1 hour per day going for water, and our enemies use this time to attack our cave. We cannot continue like this or we will disappear. Searching for another cave is not the solution. We already launched an expedition, and in 100 kilometers around us there is not a good cave which is not yet occupied. Furthermore, even if it were, it is only a question of time that we will face the same problems. What we need is to be able to choose where to live, become capable of building our own caves. What I propose is the product hut. It will not be easy. For this, we need to research about materials, locations, and structures. But we can do it, and the benefit will be enormous. With time, this will change the way we live. It will change who we are. So, see that we are not only presenting the challenges at first, but we are quantifying this challenge. And we are showing that this challenge is growing. We may spend today 15 days when before 3 days was enough. It is very, very, very good that you try to quantify as much as you can somehow your challenge, your technological challenge, and your purpose, your project purpose, And if you can show that it is growing, it will be much better for you and for engaging others in following you. Then we explain very briefly the state of the art and why today there is not a solution to this need. We are closing the gap so our solution, our vision, can be assessed better, can be understood much better, and we prevent why nots. And in the end, we show that we are aware of the risk. It will not be easy. We are aware of the barriers. For this, we need to research about materials, locations, and structures. And we are ready to prepare a good plan. Also, we can do it. We are the best consortium or the best team to address this project. And the benefit will be enormous. And also, with time, this will change the way we live. It will change who we are. And this is the impact from our project. Not the challenge, but the impact. Agriculture, farming, different professions to give the necessary tools for new activities, new social structures. The concept of privacy, the horizon is unbelievable and the impact is tremendous. This is what we search for with future and emerging technologies. Impact. Imagine that instead of a hat, we were thinking on a tent. We are overcoming the same challenge. Somehow the vision is still the same. We want to be able to build our own caves so we can choose where to live. But the impact, the potential for impact we generate, it's much smaller because tents kept the humanity as nomads. And sedentarism was necessary for agriculture and farming and professions and structures and civilization to arise. In future and emerging technologies, at least if we are targeting the Horizon 2020 call, we need to try to define those project concepts that bring greater impact, not only for ourselves, but for many other researchers to start working from our spark and also towards society, industry, and markets. With time, of course. Make sure your project objectives are as smart as possible, meaning that they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and of course they will be time-based because they are framed into a project. For example, if I say my objective is to sell as many waffle grabs as possible this year, for sure I'm not being specific, I cannot be measured, I cannot even assess if I have achieved something or not because I don't have a clear vision of which is the something that I'm trying to achieve, and it's not relevant. If I try to make this objective smart, I will have to say that my objective is to increase sales of waffle grabs to chain grocery stores by 8% over last December 2010. So it's not just a matter of saying I want to sell, 8,000 waffle grabs. The relevant objective is to increase sales. When we are developing new technology, we are doing it to improve things, to increase or decrease things, to make increments, not just absolute results. And we also want to be as specific as possible because the objective gets not only more specific but also more relevant by saying that we want to achieve this through a certain channel, through chain grocery stores, not just anyhow else, because this also helps us becoming more feasible. And finally, the more disruptive your vision is, the more complex your technology is, the more interdisciplinary supporters you need. Interdisciplinarity is becoming a must towards real technological breakthroughs. And this is why within PHET program, H2020 PHET program, they really look into interdisciplinarity. Going back to the cavemen, It's not only you builders or specialists in materials. You also need social sciences for the social changes to come. Experts in or people, experts in plants towards agriculture, or in animals towards farming, or whatever you can think of. So, some conclusions. The idea canvas allows defining all components and idea needs for gaining integrity and consistency, and very importantly, build the proper relationships amongst them. It is not that easy, or it is not that obvious, but it is really influencing. Key concepts. Try to be specific, keep relevant and real. For that, you will need to run a process. It is not a point, it is a process. Study, think, study, analyze, study, assess, ideate, and dream. It is important to differentiate between the vision and the technology, the how and the what, as well as considering the vision, the summary of the concept of our project, the smartness and the quid of the project, the great idea that we propose that is really unique or differentiated, that is truly, truly deeply innovative or disruptive. Therefore, it will always be relative to the state of the art. Remember also to differentiate between the challenge and the impact, and search for these projects that create greater potential for impact. The couple challenge vision is crucial. It's the baseline for the whole project. We can build this couple through a challenge pull or a vision pushed process depending on our starting point. But in the end, it must be unbreakable, with no leaps in the dark. And it must be bidirectional. Either we start from the challenge to the vision, or from the vision to the challenge. And try to give your project the best story possible. If you write your proposal, you write it for whom will read you. But not only that, you do it for aiming at motivating a particular action in your reader. If it is the evaluator of a call, if it is yourself, your colleagues, potential partners to your project, you are writing or speaking for the target of your message, not for yourself, for them, and aiming at motivating a particular action. And for that, style is crucial. If we go back to the cavemen, the way I have presented, or I would present my idea in the assembly around the fire, it was thought because I was thinking of my clanmates in the assembly around the fire and trying to motivate them to follow me outside the cave. You really need to think about how to do it, the style, the better style, the better way to tell your story to whoever is going to read it. Getting in your reader's shoes, understanding the decision they need to take, its importance and difficulty, because this will change quite a bit your perspectives and focuses. There is not just one correct idea canvas while the others are wrong. Sometimes it is necessary to assess different scenarios, integrate, choose, diverge towards the final version we feel more confident with. The idea canvas will also serve as compass in the long way ahead. And that's it for today. Good luck. InnoWizard and this Idea Academy module will help you through the idea canvas. It will present you some checklists for you to try to think on potential gaps or opportunities for improvement. Then it will follow you. It will take you to other steps, analyzing the context, defining project objectives, and defining this interdisciplinary team that you need for your project, always with briefings and checklists, but also offering specific support at the different steps. So feel free to contact us, and we will be really looking forward to work with you.